I always say to husbands, we've got to protect our wives.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to protect your wife from your own people.
Sure.
And I'm talking close family.
During this period, we have changed ourselves.
Sure.
Physically,
Yeah.
our needs change over time.
Yeah.
You may be doing something that pleased me 20 years ago. It's irrelevant now. It's gone.
New tricks, Baba.
When we're doing this premarital counseling, the pastor said, write minimum of 25 things while we are marrying this person. Second one, 25 things what you expect this person. The third one was, if she can't meet it, remember this is before we got married. If she can't meet this expectation,
Sure.
what are you going to do?
Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. Here we are husbands who aren't where we want to be, but certainly are not where we used to be. We are imperfect, always failing forward, trying to know better so that we can do better. Hey, what's up? Welcome to That Husband podcast with me, Black Newborn. This is where husbands try to know better so that we can do better. Before we get into this episode, we want to thank everybody who's been supporting us. And if you're wondering how you can do that, well, there's two ways. Firstly, if you are new, the way that you can support us is by hitting that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you're updated on every single episode we drop every Wednesday at 11:30. Two ways you can support us. One, you can buy us coffee, and there's a link in our comment section. You can click on that and buy us as many coffees as your heart desires. Coffee energizes us. It keeps on going so that we can make more of this content. The second way you can support us is by booking me as an MC or a speaker for your next event. That's at booking@blacknewborn.com. That's booking@blacknewborn.com. The couple that's sitting across from me today, we don't have a table. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome, give us digital hand claps as we welcome Doctors Jerry and Gugu Gule.
Thank you. Thank you.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, we're good.
Thanks
We're
for
good.
coming. You shouldn't be nervous. This is gonna be an amazing conversation. You should relax.
Yes.
And we're gonna have fun.
Thank you.
You guys ready?
We like relaxing.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Before we jump into our chat today, we are compiling this book next to me, and we're trying to make it an ebook, digital book to give to husbands. To encourage them on their walk. So many husbands who watch our podcast don't get to enjoy the benefit of having a community of husbands around them or other older couples. And so they're walking alone. And so we want to give this resource to them to encourage them. And in season 1, we asked our guests to give us names of couples who either inspired them to get married or stay married. And now in season 2, we're asking our guests to define what a husband is. But since you guys are a couple, we're going to switch it.
Yeah.
So Baba is going to define what a wife is because he's had the privilege of living with a wife for 43 years.
Yes.
Umama is going to answer what a husband is.
Yeah.
So we'll start with Baba. If you could define what a wife is for us. Yeah.
Woo. This is something that you don't normally think about, right? You just go out there, fight, get a girl for yourself, and that girl becomes your wife.
Yeah.
But I think over the time that I've been together with Gugu, we've been married, is I would define a wife, my wife, Gugu, as my friend, my partner, the mother of my kids, now a grandmother for our grandsons. Yeah. So that's a wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And for you, Ma, what would you define a husband?
For me, it's a pillar of support.
Okay.
It's a lover. It's a confidant and great friend. He's my best friend. Somebody who's there for me, whether things are good or whether things are bad.
Yeah.
If he is not there for me, nobody else can be there for me.
Sure.
And somebody who knows me.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a husband. You must know
your wife.
Yeah.
Come on. Guys, That's 43 years worth of a definition. We're not taking any other definition. That's good. You wanted to say something? Right?
Yes, I get reminded by Gugu from time to time that, there's no one else that I can talk about this
Sure.
to, that I can release even my emotions. So maybe also a husband should be the person, in fact, is, if to add to what Gugu has said, should be the person that wipes the tears.
Sure.
You expect them,
Sure.
but don't cause them.
Sure.
It's sad. Have I or have I not caused Gugu to cry? I have.
Sure.
But you regret that, having caused that.
Sure.
It's always something that you wish you hadn't done.
Sure.
You hadn't been the cause of that, the cause of the unhappiness. But we have to also be ready to wipe those tears, because you're the only one.
Sure.
You're the only one that can do that for her or for your wife. So
sure.
I think that's what we are there for as husbands. Yeah.
That's good. Maybe a common theme that came out. Sorry if I could just adjust your mic there. A common theme that came out in your definitions is the theme of friendship. Could you guys elaborate on how that's looked like? Before we started recording now, we were getting coffee and water, and you guys were by the courtyard giggling and having fun there. And when I entered the conversation, you guys were flexing your English muscles. They were trying to figure out how to pronounce procrastination. And you guys were laughing at each other because you were struggling.
Yes.
So how is friendship? Did your friendship form before you got married? Did it form within the marriage? And how have you maintained that? Because a lot of people struggle being friends with their significant other, with their spouse. But clearly that's a big theme in your guys' marriage. How has that flashed out?
Yeah.
We've been friends. We were friends before we were an item.
Sure.
Yeah. We first met. I was in first year. He was in second year.
Yeah.
Adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how we met is another story.
Yeah.
But
what happened? We want to know.
You want to know?
We have our coffee here. We're not running away.
Okay. At the time, I wasn't a Christian. He was a Christian.
Sure.
And at the time, I would say maybe I was full of myself.
You were,
selfish. I was selfish. I did not have the courtesies that some people know about. I was not taught that. So I grew up having to fend for myself.
Sure.
And fending for myself, it means sometimes being overly assertive. And I would not, on my dead body, wait in a queue.
Sure.
I would not.
Sure.
But after I became a Christian, I did stand in the line, in the queue.
You joined the queue.
I joined the queue.
Obey the rules.
Yeah. But so what happened was, we're queuing to go to a bookshop to order books for the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And I looked at this line and said, this is too long. I can't deal with this.
For me.
Yeah, for me, no, I can't. Yeah. So I just inserted myself in front of him.
Yeah.
Why him? I don't know. God just did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that one moment has led to 43 years.
Yes.
Wow.
No, but at that time, no one knew what was, because, so this is now, I'm in second year, she's a newbie at the university, right? Yes. I just look at this, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
So there was absolutely no way that I would have even said, yes, of course I can see, she looks good.
Yeah.
It's good to the eye and all that. But there's no way that you could be friends to an extent of becoming item, because I was very clear when I became a Christian, and when the Lord opened my eyes, what it means to be a Christian.
Sure.
And I became a Christian just when I finished secondary school. So, and went to beautiful school where I grew as a Christian. So when I went to university, very clear, I'm not falling in love with a girl because I don't need to. I'm not ready to be a husband. So that was like, it's not going to happen.
Sure.
So second year, third year, just one of the girls on campus. Yes, we're friends. We talk. When we meet, we talk because the girl who jumped.
And he was a photographer on campus. Yeah.
So he had an eye for
beautiful things. Yes.
I was taking beautiful pictures.
Yes.
Not just of Gugu, of all the students. So that's how I made my pocket money, right? So that was part of my, the stuff that.
So what happens when you're standing in the line and she cuts in?
No, I greet. And what's your name? What's okay? Why are you jumping the queue? So that struck a conversation. Okay. After that, anyway, we're close to the door now. You can go in front of me. It's not an issue. But that's when I noticed and I started talking. I think that opened a conversation.
Yeah.
It would be 3 years later. I think I was joking at the marriage enrichment course that one of the things that I had said was that your chances of really landing a wife, if you finish high school and you're not clear where you are going with life and you don't have a girlfriend, you actually might not have a wife. But clearly, part of the strategy was that by the time I finished college, it was part of a prayer. And I was part of a prayer group. Because our headmaster had said in high school, he looked around and said, guys, your wives are not here. But pray for your wives. You can start praying. It said to the girls, your husbands are not in this class. But pray, because this was a mission school. You guys pray for your future husbands or future wives. So part of the deal in my head was I would like by the time I finish university to have someone that I can stay with for life.
Now you tell me.
Yeah. Now I do. That's why they
made deals with God.
So when Gugu became a Christian and had been a friend, and I mean when God enters your life, there is just it's night and day. She changed. The person that she became was totally different. And with my prayer group, I then said to them, guys, I think I'm falling in love with this girl. There's something happening here. And that's how it happened. 43 years later, we still are friends.
That's good.
Because yes, we were friends, but I think knowing the Lord and being a husband that is seeking to please God. And of course, you can't please God if you're not in sync with your wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So the friendship starts, but you said you were full of yourself. How did he manage? Because being a Christian, he's probably put off by you having a big head and thinking you're the princess everywhere you go. How did you handle him? How did you even maintain that friendship for 3 years?
He's a very friendly guy.
Okay.
He makes friends very easily. And it was quite easy for me to become his friend because his personality is just like that. Even now, he strikes up conversation easier than I do. So I liked, taking having pictures of me taken and and I still like it even now. So he was the key photographer at varsity. So I felt comfortable, him taking pictures of me because I didn't want isn't this the fadile and stuff.
You wanted proper stuff.
So, but what that meant is that there was more contact because I needed to have pictures taken. And I don't regret that because then you have a history, things that you can look at. I look like that. Oh my goodness. Is this how I looked so many years ago?
You still have some of those pictures?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what goes through your minds, both of you, when you look at some of those pictures now?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just. In fact, this morning when we were discussing, we just looked back a little bit, and we were talking about the fact that we're happy. So we look
Sure.
back at those pictures and just realize how the Lord has been good to us. Of course, stuff is changing. I mean, faces are changing.
Yeah.
Hair has changed and all that. But you can, then that's part of the joy,
Yeah.
right? You look
Yeah.
back and you say, Gugu was saying earlier on, you're gonna be turning 70 soon. I said, yes.
Sure.
And then from that time on, it is like yes, it's been by grace,
Yeah.
but even more by grace. When you look back and we look at a time when the beard was long, like
Yeah.
Savimbi, Jonas Savimbi.
Like mine.
Like yours. Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
now there's nothing there. No, so it's fun to
Yeah.
look back like
Yeah.
to those times. Yeah.
That's good. And for you, when you look at those pictures?
It's just as I said, it's marveling at God's grace
Sure.
that two people, one was from the south of Swaziland, the other was from the north of Swaziland. They meet at varsity. My first day, we meet. No, it wasn't the first day. It was the day when we had to go and collect books,
Yeah.
get books. And I bumped into him and we became friends for about 3 years.
Sure.
But that was truncated, of course, at some point because he said
did
to
what?
me, one of my friends said that when he greeted you, you said to him, Amen. I said, but who said that? No, I can't tell you. I tell you, he told me maybe more than 20 years into the marriage.
Who that friend was?
Yes. But because he told me, I don't even remember who the person was.
Yeah.
I just needed to have, confidence,
Yeah.
and feeling that security that, it's not somebody that, when they are that other side, then they perhaps talk about me and how bad I am.
Sure.
Because the whole problem was, he said the guy greeted me and I said, Amen. I said, I grew up going to church and everything. I wasn't a Christian, but that was out of bounds. You could never do something like that. But anyway, so that put him in the dog box.
Sure. The fact that he didn't tell you who the friend was.
Yes.
No. That stuff was confidential.
Because how do I trust him?
Sure.
Yeah, it was a trust issue.
Wow. And ironically, that actually demonstrates trust because he didn't break his trust with his friend. So, but you wanted it for yourself.
You know why? Because my personality is like this. Our personalities are completely different.
Yeah.
He is very patient.
Sure.
I'm not always patient.
Sure. That's a specific way to put it.
Not always patient. He can mull on something. I want to deal with it now. And once I deal with it, whether you've made me angry or upset me, once I've dealt with it, it's done.
There's peace.
There's peace. It's done. We go to the next step.
Yeah.
So that's me. So he deprived me of that.
Sure.
and I know exactly what would have happened. Then Gugu would have set up a meeting with that person.
So you prevented a whole thing.
Please help me understand.
What was wrong with my Ahmed? Sure.
Yeah, but good. God in his wisdom, he puts us at places that would otherwise not have thought of, and for his own reason. And because of that, perhaps if I had not jumped and stood in front of him, I would never have noticed him.
Sure.
And it's not that I had targeted, I looked at people and said, this one, I think, no. I just went and stood there. I think
lines are not for you.
I think God just plonked me there. Yeah. For his own reason.
It's funny how he used your ego of not wanting to be in lines to give you a husband.
God can tame you, hey?
He can.
Yeah.
He can.
But
Sure.
I think the one thing that one can say is that the wisdom of God is something that we will never fathom, right, as human beings, because He's omnipotent.
Sure.
Because I remember Gugu was going, at some point went through a hard time, was humbled. This whole ego business, I think when someone died in her family.
Sure.
And I think that for me, that's when, because now she wanted this life. And then you could point where the life is found. In fact, she knew where the life could be found. And well, it was fun when she started coming to the student movement, Christian movement services, and was shifting and actually was confessing that this her life has changed, and part of it is this is what has happened. I mean, I knew when Gugu says we had nothing in common, absolutely nothing in common. She was going, as far as I'm concerned, she was going that other way, and we know the end of that route is tears. Okay. But, that doesn't mean you can't have a friendship with someone who goes that way.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, Black, an incident. So now my wife, at the time my friend had a boyfriend, that was very bad for her life, for her health.
Sure.
And this person rocks up on campus with bad intentions.
Sure.
And again, one would say is that my sister was there, my brother-in-law was there, some other friends were there.
Sure.
Just a group of my friends, we were there. And this guy come and Gugu was passing. And
I was running past.
Yes. And then we say, what's happening here? And she says, we confronted the guy. We protected her.
Sure.
She wasn't my girlfriend. It's just one of the ladies on campus. And we see this happening. We say, it doesn't happen to a girl.
Yeah.
We, the guys, we're going to confront this gentleman who's come here on our campus with bad intentions. And that's what we did. So we laugh about it now because... And on your episode, say we're not going to talk about the gory details of what could have happened, but it was really bad intentions. Yeah. Because then, as her husband, much later in our marriage, she tells me the whole story of what was going on there, who that person was. And of course, you want to reach for your gun if you have one and say, where is he?
It's going to find him now.
Let's find him now. Yeah, but that... So God works in, I don't want to say in mysterious ways, because that God is not a mystery. No, it's very clear.
It's clear. Yeah.
Let's just say He works in our lives, orchestrate our lives. It puts us in the places where we should be. The question becomes: are we listening?
Are we listening? Yeah.
Are we listening to Him?
That's good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's providence is clear in hindsight.
Yeah.
So you don't see what He's doing in the moment as He's moving you, but when you look back, you can clearly see how He's orchestrated the stuff. I was thinking now as you guys were speaking, me and my wife have a similar story. So we also met in varsity, and she had a boyfriend. I hated that guy. I still hate
for your
him.
own reasons, right?
No, we're friends as well.
Oh,
but he also treated her in ways that would make one reach for his gun.
Yeah.
Till today, I hate that guy. hate that guy. And I remember saying to her, she was my friend, I'm like, I just can't understand why you're just not breaking up with this guy. But again, later on in our marriage, then she explained the depth at which the how toxic that relationship was, and how she just couldn't escape in the moment, which pained me even more. And again, it's, you see how God, in his wisdom, in his grace, used even that situation to strengthen our marriage. Now that we're married, and we were talking about that, and how that even brought us closer together. So I'm picking up threads. And I'm selfishly asking God, if we have the same threads, keep us till 43 as well, please, God. Earlier on, you had spoken about, being husbands who wipe our wives' tears, and unfortunately, at other times, we cause those tears. How have you guys navigated those situations when you've, unfortunately caused tears? How has Umar reacted? How did you catch yourself in the moment and bring yourself to a point of repentance?
Scripture, Peter, says something that is, it just stops you on your tracks if you still claim to be a Christian. When he says, husbands, dwell with your wives in this particular way. Because if you don't dwell in the manner that Peter talks about, describes, he says, don't even dare pray. So that, when I've caused grief for my wife and I realize that things are actually not what they should be, it's always to ask for forgiveness. Own the fault, own the thing that we have done, ask for forgiveness, so that you can then proceed to pray. So that really is what I appreciate with Gugu, because when I've wronged her and I come and I say, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't actually realize that that's what I was doing. I see the tears. The fun thing again is, I say funny, but you realize, that you have caused this pain. And in fact, you're not supposed to be the person who causes your wife pain, because around you, and for me, around me, I should be the safest person on earth. And now I'm not. And therefore I need to rectify that. Sometimes I don't realize, and he says, but you can see. I mean, when there's tension in the house, you can see. Sometimes the question becomes, what are you going to do about it? When are you going to sort it out? But you can't really let it roll and roll. You have to examine your heart, because now we are falling away from your love for God, your relationship with God. And you can't say, well, God forgives me and I'll just continue. It's because there won't be any laughter in the house. So it's forgiveness, asking for that forgiveness, humbling yourself. So that's how I have navigated those situations with Gugu, is to say, "Sweet, I'm sorry that I've actually caused this." But I think I want to make this point. Early on in our marriage, I think premarital counseling, just the conversations that we were led through. And we had this conversation then to say, we will make mistakes, but it doesn't mean we don't love each other when we make those mistakes. It's just finding a way of reconciling. You have to reconcile.
How have those moments been for you,
man? God works in ways that are different from how we want to perceive him as working. And he will put you in a situation sometimes where he wants you to forgive 70 times 7. And then you ask God, but honestly, I mean, this thing is difficult, but why do I have to go through this, time and again? But then if you really do love God, then you say, hey, but how many times have I come to you? And we say, forgive them, because, because he first forgave us.
So I get forgiven.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
You know, even though my head way back then plonked me in front of him, the one thing that I benefited from by being a Christian
Sure.
is being able to forgive.
Mm,
I was very vindictive
sure.
before I became a Christian. And a lot of that came from the suffering that I went through
Sure.
from childhood right up until I became a young adult, you know, including running away from this thug.
You love a thug.
Out here.
Yeah. So I believe, you know, for me, that forgiveness, but also for me, the thing that helps me a lot,
Sure.
so that I do not keep resentment in my heart, is talking about something. If I have not spoken about something, it haunts me.
Sure.
If you're going to swear at me, Black, and it hurts my heart, it's going to be difficult for me to even converse with you,
Sure.
because there is this barrier of something that has happened that has not been sorted out. So part of what has helped us in our marriage is is being able on both sides to be able to cross that barrier and say we want to remove the barrier. And one, you talk about what has happened, and then you forgive each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But you excuse me, you have to try to the best of your ability, and you must pray about it, to not to be continuously be the cause of grief for your partner.
Yeah.
Other people can grieve you, but your partner should not deliberately grieve you.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have to talk about it.
Yeah. One, I would not swear at you. My grandmother would come out of her grave and kill me herself. I would never swear at you. So how do we help couples not be the deliberate source of grief for each other? You guys are hitting 43 years this coming July. How have you guys intentionally, at an individual level, try not to be the source of grief for the other person?
You know, and this is part of what Paul Tripp in his marriage enrichment course talks about. All marriage problems are problems of the heart.
Sure.
Are problems of selfishness.
Sure.
I want it my way. So not thinking about the other person. And but as particularly as believers, although I mean, if you know, anybody needs to think about, why am I in this relationship? What am I trying to achieve with this? But for us as people who believe and who want to do better, as husbands who want to do better, I think it's examining our hearts all the time, examining the words that we speak to our wives. What's the intention? What's the motivation behind what I want to say? So just taking that moment to think, stop and think. That's what is helping us even now. It's just is it the right time to say this? It may need to be said, but is it the right time? Are we in the right frame of mind to say it? I have learned, and we continue to learn, don't speak in anger. Yeah. Because, and in fact, that's an oxymoron for us as believers, because part of the fruit of the Spirit is that we manage that. We want to live lives that reflect love. And let me bring this thing that Paul Tripp says again, when he says love is self-sacrifice for someone who doesn't deserve any sacrifice. So if I say I love my wife, and you do that without expecting any reciprocation, in other words, any favors from this person, as God loved us, right? So we love sacrificially. And that means I've got to care for my wife, right? And caring means I don't want to be a source of a pain for her. And so we talk about things. That's one. That's what helps us, is to talk about things that are hurtful. And in 40 years, I can't
we
be
also
repeating.
pray for
Yeah.
our marriage.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah. Pray
You
for each
have
other.
to pray
Yeah.
for your marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, bad times come,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't always wake up feeling, "Hey, I'm on top of the world." And it's your spouse that can lift you up.
Sure.
If they really care about you, finding out what's worrying you.
Yeah.
And that's what Gugu was talking about.
Yeah.
Just finding that moment to talk. I mean, this Gugu said this morning, "Hey, we are so happy. This is a very happy house." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, you know what I mean. Because when we are not happy, and there are many things. Yeah, you can feel it. There are many things that can make you happy. I'm in business.
Sure.
She was in business. When things are not going right externally, that affects internally. What do you do then? You can't turn against each other just because of stuff that's come. You actually have to be holding hands and praying, as Gugu says, praying for one another.
Sure.
Honey, you want to add?
Another tidbit from Paul Tripp is that if your relationship with God is not good, you do not have the capacity to have a good relationship
With your spouse.
or any other person.
Sure.
So you have to examine yourself, examine your relationship. And is this what God approves of? Or isn't it what God approves of?
Sure.
Yeah. We always fix marriage relationships vertically, not horizontally, according to Paul Tripp. But actually, we learned this so long ago, and it goes back to what I said, what Peter says, that how should we dwell with our wives? So when we have challenges in our marriage, whether we're Christians or not, we really have to examine our hearts. Is this marriage is this just about me? Or is this a partnership? And I want my partner to be happy also, as I vowed when I was making those vows, that very first time, that I'm going to, what does that look like? What does this happiness define from her eyes?
Sure.
Okay, what does this do? It can't be me defining it. It has to be my wife defining what makes
and another thing is, we have the benefit of having been married for a long time.
Yeah.
And during that time, during this period, we have changed ourselves.
Sure.
Physically, our needs change over time. And you need to be constantly, on the lookout and have the eagerness to know whether we are still meeting those needs or not.
Sure.
You may be doing something that pleased me 20 years ago. It's irrelevant now. It's gone.
New tricks, Baba.
So basically, there's no time for loafing in marriage.
Sure.
You cannot loaf.
Sure.
You cannot do it remote control that, okay, it must be. No, you have to do it.
No AI marriage.
No.
Sure.
Marriage is hard work.
Sure.
But
joy as
the
well.
the joy that you get out of it far surpasses whatever may be an inconvenience or whatever. Yeah.
So you guys explained your temperaments earlier. Etubaba is more patient and you want to solve things on the spot. So how has that been a challenge for you particularly? When you have to be patient and not speak out of anger.
The one thing that we benefited for, which he mentioned, was we had very good and comprehensive marital counseling.
Okay.
So one of the things that our pastor told us about was, when you are unhappy about something, of course, at the time, you can't quite comprehend, what exactly it means. But you have to talk about what it is that you're unhappy about. You have to be honest to yourself,
Sure.
and then honest to your partner. And it is how you do it. You have to do it in a loving way, in a constructive way.
Sure.
It's like at work. Somebody may make a boo-boo, but you can't say, you fool. What? It's not constructive. It's not going to change anything. So that's the benefit. One time we went to see our because there are challenges. So sometimes you need to go out.
It's 43 years, guys.
Yes,
If you didn't have challenges, you guys would be angels, or you'd be God Himself.
Yeah, you go and seek help, where help can be found. So now this lady makes a comment. It says, you guys, you're playing too safe around each other.
Sure.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And for her, she looked at it as a negative thing, that it means that you are not feeling free to express your emotions, to
fight.
fight and
Sure.
express.
Sure.
Some people say, it's good, you must fight. But every couple has a culture.
Yes.
Our culture has been, we must be gentle, we must be loving. You must not say something that you can say, I didn't mean to.
Sure. That's good.
Never. I will. That's just also my philosophy in life. If I say something, it may be hard for your ears to hear, but
You meant it.
I mean it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
And that is how I've been able to navigate life. So when things are difficult, talk about it, address them. We had a situation one time here at church, which becomes a very difficult situation, because in church, you wanna solve things in a very gentle way and whatever. And okay, so this person asked for a loan. They were about to be chucked out somewhere. And then this husband of mine was not around for us to talk about it. So I made a decision. We give this chap money
To
because,
assist.
to assist,
Sure.
because they'll be chucked out of the home. There's a child and whatever. But now the brother doesn't now return the money. So now I have to go after the brother. I went after this brother until my eyes were blue. Then I decided, you know what? God has placed that in the church, and He has prescribed in the Bible how things should be resolved in the church family. Then I go to the people's warden. I say, brother, I have this challenge. This brother doesn't want to pay me. Like, okay, now I hear you. Let me talk to the brother. You want to talk to the brother, brought us together. Now you don't even know that, you can't even say that there ever was a problem.
Sure.
Why? Because it was addressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
A gentle way.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I think what the dynamic that you're bringing up now, it's important what we say, but it's, I think, either equally important or even more important how we say the things we say. But the lady that advised you guys to just be expressive and say things however, I think speaks into the kind of marriages that we have now. So a lot of younger couples compared to you guys find themselves in a culture, my generation, we find ourselves in a culture where people are encouraged to just be expressive, say stuff the way that they want to say it, don't be shy, etc. And then we lose out on the principle of how important it is how we say stuff. And so then we trample on each other, etc. And it's like, but we didn't come to marriage to die, and I can't lose myself, and I need to be who I am. And that principle of selflessness is lost.
Yes.
And so marriage becomes about the individual and not the collective. It doesn't become about the one that has formed between you two, but it becomes about the individuals. Where, I mean, you guys have seen marriages in the past 4 decades. Where do you think we lost it? You know, so I'll add another thing here. I was talking to an older gentleman. He's been married for 20 years this year, and I saw their wedding picture. And in the wedding picture, as part of the ceremony, they tied a rope in on their wrists together as a visual symbol
Yeah.
to say that what God has put together, let no man, put asunder. And I'm like, man, that will never happen with our generation now. People will say, "Aye, that's not going to be good for the pictures," But I'm like, your generation even had those kind of visual demonstrations to say, like, marriage is such a serious thing.
Yeah.
But marriage has become, an accessory for our generation. It's the thing I do just so that it looks good for me, and therefore people don't realize the kind of work that needs to go into it, the kind of selfless posture that people need to carry. So, I mean, you guys have done marriage counseling with other couples. Yeah, please, would you tell us where you see the mirror cracking in the past 40 years? Where have we lost it? Why is our generation different from your generation?
Yeah.
Yo, Beans and Bonds, the 4th edition, man. It's incredible that we are saying number 4. The first 3 have been possible because of you, man. You pulled through, you invited people, you made sure that you filled the room. Our guest of honor truly blessed us with the gems that they dropped, man. I enjoyed hosting, and shout outs to all our artists who performed and encouraged us and inspired us with their art. We are on the 4th one. When is this one happening? The 31st of May, right here at Christchurch Midrand. Doors open at 9:30. Event starts at 10 and we finish at 1. So make sure that you are pulling through. Invite anybody. Beans and Bonds is for everybody who believes in healthy marriages and truly wants to celebrate husbands becoming better husbands. All right, so make sure that you are pulling through for this one. It's going to be super, super incredible. What is the theme for this one that's coming up in May? Let me tell you, man, doing accountability the right way. You've probably heard the word so many times. Social media has abused it, but we want to speak about what true accountability looks like, not just for us as husbands, but for women, for wives, for those who believe in the institute of marriage. How can we keep each other accountable and how we behave in light of what marriage is and what a good and healthy marriage is supposed to be, right? So pull through for that, man. Our guest of honor, my brother, Seta Mabula, he's going to be there. You know, he's a straight shooter. You've seen him in season 1. If you follow him on Instagram, you know that his heart and aim is to keep men truly accountable and walking in the straight and narrow. So we want to hear what he has to say. And who's going to be our artist? My sister, the one and only prolific, profound, pronounced, professional poet, Puno Selesho. She's going to be here truly dropping some amazing pieces, and we're going to be encouraged and inspired. So make sure that you are pulling through for this one. Beans and Bonds, 4th edition, 31st of May, Christchurch Midrand. 9:30, doors open, 10 o'clock. We start 1, we'll finish. All right, pull through. See you then. All right. So, I mean, you guys have done marriage counseling with other couples. Yeah, please, would you tell us where you see the mirror cracking in the past 40 years? Where have we lost it? Why is our generation different from your generation?
Yeah. It's actually, such a difficult question to answer.
Sure.
Because I always also wonder about that. Where did things change? Part of what we sometimes in conversations, when we reflect and look back and say, why is this happening? Why are relationships so easily fractured these days?
Sure.
And you just, there is no easy answer. And I don't think there's only one answer to it. There are many answers. Part of it is, I look back and say, what influenced our thinking? Of course, at the end of the day is just in terms of who we are today. We're Christians, and if we're going to be obedient and walk in step with the Spirit, that changes everything, right? Sure. If we do that. Yeah. But in general, in society, it's not only Christians who are able to hold on to their marriages. Yes. Marriage was, even secular people would. Yes. It was an institution that was respected. Of course, there were scalums, people who would dodge the system. But in general, I think values, and I would call them Christian values, even people who were not necessarily Christians, nominal people, just general people, respected the fact that there is God.
Yes.
Because I mean, going through the school system, that's what we experience. That you need to respect. You should know that there is a God who needs to be respected. Your parents you must respect, and your parents also our parents sought to be, I think maybe exemplary to us. They may not have been great examples, but there were things that you knew. There are things that society frowned upon.
Sure.
And so I think that helped to say, if I get into this institution, I should think about it.
Yeah.
Those vows, I know vows today are, you can create your own in whatever way.
The other thing that helped those days is every school, there used to be a time which was called assembly. During assembly, they would be singing, which is worshiping God. They would be reading a scripture. So God was in the school system. The values that were promoted, they were also part of the culture then. Respect, Ubuntu, and everything. Ubuntu has gone down. The morals, just the moral fiber is just degenerated. And where does it come from? Moving away from God.
Sure.
So as we said earlier, that a marriage has to be rooted in God. If you are not right with God, you are not capable of being right with other people because of the selfishness that we have.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and to come back to your question, I think the younger generation now, maybe they look around and say, but we don't have good role models. So we don't, we're just doing this thing on our own. And I think apart from really understanding the I don't want to call it rules, but understanding what does this union mean? The creator, when he made this, what was his intention? And are we following his blueprint? Because if we try to do it our way, I think that's where we get things wrong. Because it's really not, it's about caring for your spouse.
Yes.
Both caring for putting the interests of your spouse at the center of your relationship.
Sure.
Can you imagine if the spouses are each trying to outperform one another in terms of being good to one another, being of service to them, what that relationship would look like. It's not me, it's us in the relationship. We've heard of situations where people have, professionals getting fat salaries. My salary is my salary. Your salary is your salary. So where is the commonality?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You guys have, still in the same theme, you guys seem to have taken a very deliberate and a conscious decision to live out your marriage publicly. Maybe it's not, at least from where I'm sitting, it seems like you guys are very deliberate in how you're going to love each other in front of a watching world. Most couples your age, going back to the point you made about my generation not having examples, part of, I think, why we don't have examples is marriages haven't lasted long, like yours. But then some marriages that have lasted long, those couples don't love each other as publicly as you guys have decided to love each other. Therefore, we can't see them, So we see an older gentleman walking alone at the mall, or sometimes even in church. When I walk into church and I see you guys, it seems like it's that day where you were fetching books. It looks like it's that day. like you just walked into the line today. And I'm like, you guys have been living with each other for over 40 years and you look like you just met each other today. And you live that out for us to see. Whenever I think of Black couples I know, who have been married as long as you guys have been married, you guys are the first ones that come to my mind. anywhere I am. So if I'm on this podcast and I speak about black couples that have been married for over 40 years, you guys are top of mind. I can't, even now as I'm talking, I can't even think of a second black couple that I know that's been married for as long as you guys have been married. And so I think part of the lack of examples is that marriages haven't lasted, or people haven't decided to love each other the way you guys have. Has that thing been a deliberate thing on your part to say we are gonna love each other because we know people are watching, and so there's younger generations that need examples, or you guys just find each other loving each other and it just happens? Which one is it?
Let me answer that one first. Way back, long time ago, I expressed my needs for affection, right?
Okay.
My needs, if you love me, I like it. We hold a hand. And I tell you, that was very difficult for this guy.
He's a Christian brother.
It was very difficult for him.
He has boundaries. God is watching.
You see, he's getting red. So it's very important to express your needs. For me, I expressed that need a long time ago. And if I feel like maybe he's doing something that I feel no, I'm being abused here, I will say it. I'll give you an example. I won't ask for your permission.
Yes.
So we met in Swaziland. I was born in Durban, but we grew up in Swaziland.
Sure.
So we met at varsity, which is halfway between his home and my home.
Sure.
Then we get married, and then we go to. At the time when we were married, we didn't even have a car. And so it was fit. Anyway, then eventually we were able to buy a second-hand car, then we'd go home. Home is like deep rural areas, but then they have a trati, the one that...
The fence.
The fence, the pricky one for the cows. But then there's a gate which has to be opened, manually. It's heavy. So the first time we went there, then we get to the gate. He asked me to open the gate.
I'm driving.
He's driving, ne?
Wouldn't drive.
Oh.
I open the gate. And then he gets in, I close the gate. And then we leave again. I open the gate, I close the gate.
This heavy gate.
Yeah. I think that happened 2-3 times. And I said, I can't deal with this. I can't deal. And I said to him, no, I don't like opening that gate. I'm a lady, you're a gentleman, so you should act like a gentleman and open the gate. So ever since that time, he never protested because I expressed what I wished, because it did not make me feel good. It did not make me feel valued that you asked me to open this gate. And it's not like a gate you open like this. You have to lift it out of a drudgy thing, lift it up, and then you have to put it back and then pull something to hold that lock.
It's work.
It's work.
It's like changing gears in the car. I'm also working on the drive.
It's time for you to work.
It's time for you to work.
No, he didn't quarrel with me. He said, okay, up to now. And then also, because I like being a lady.
Queen.
I like
A
being
redeemed queen now.
I like being a queen. I guess part of it was informed by when we were growing up, my mother liked buying these romantic novels, and we used to read these novels and what. So in my mind, being in love and being loved and whatever, I like to be mushy. Well, not necessarily all the time. When it's right, it was not part of what was in my brain to open this thing and close. I also love the idea of having the door open for the car door open
Come
for
on
me.
now.
I love the idea. I mean, I read all about it. It was also mushy. And then I said to him, I like it when I would love it if you open the door for me.
Yes.
To this day, he opens the door.
Till today.
Yes, and then the guys will say, "Sure, you're setting the bar too high for us."
No, listen. I think the point that Gugu is making, and the point that I think we would like to make, is that we've got to express your needs.
Yes.
And in fact, when we're doing this premarital counseling, the pastor said, write minimum of 25 things while we are marrying this person. That was the first thing. Second one, 25 things what you expect this person. And we exchanged those pieces of paper and we spoke through the 25 things.
Sure.
And then the third one was, if she can't meet it, remember this is before we got married. If she can't meet this expectation, what are you going to do when you are married? So there was a lot of conversation. So coming into this thing is really, I think what set our agenda was, why are we here? What are the expectations? And so there were a lot of things that there were things that you knew this is a non-negotiable. This must be done. So, but the important thing is to talk about the needs that you have, or your expectations, and talk about it's possible, it's not possible. What is the compromise? There has to be a compromise. It can't be because we go back to it's my way or the highway. You can't have a marriage where one party says it's my way, it's going to be done my way. In the sacrificial love. So all those things, and Christ is our example of what it means to sacrifice. So at times you have to sacrifice for your partner.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yes.
Probably part of your marriage journey. Ma spoke about every marriage having its own culture. And clearly from the answers that you guys have been giving, there is a culture that you guys have developed that's probably most likely and very highly a different culture from marriages that existed in your time when you guys were starting out. So guys saying that you're setting the bar high, but you guys are insistent in creating a culture where you're going to serve each other, look after each other, and part of why you're here in God's grace is probably setting that different culture. Was it difficult to explain it to people around you, 40 years ago, why you guys are doing things differently? Because if I think of men 40 years ago, dare you say I must open the door for you? Oh, Nick.
Yeah.
But you did it.
Yes.
And how did you deal with the pushback?
Yeah. That's such a fantastic question. And I say it's a fantastic question because clearly I remember pushback very visibly when our firstborn son was born.
Yeah.
And this is in the context of even worship in the church.
Sure.
Normally the tradition is that, and I don't know where we get this idea from, that once there's if God has blessed you with children, that the primary caregiver is the wife, is your wife as a husband. That's what you're going to do. So in church, in the church where we were a long time ago, part of what would happen when our son was born and he would cry, and we go to church and the baby's crying. The tradition is the wife that takes the baby and leaves the service because we didn't have a cry room then, where you go nurse and all that. And I said, no.
Sure.
I said to Gugu, you sit here, I'm taking the baby, I'm going to make sure that he gets, if he needs feeding, I'll feed.
Sure.
The gentleman at that time, 40 years ago, said, Wenzan, what are you doing? And my answer was very simple. Gugu deserves, she cannot be the only one who goes out each time this child cries every Sunday. She's here to listen to the service. We can have our own arrangement. Maybe this week it's me who's going to be looking after, maybe next week is but it can't be that it's the norm. It should be expected.
Sure.
And I'm glad that I saw gentlemen changing, because we can't be talking about taking care of each other and that's how we behave. So yes, there was pushback, but I think for me it was basically to point all of us, those that were close to me, to what do you think the Lord would expect us? How do we actually express our love? Most importantly, what as Gugu said, is something that as a husband she expects from me. I mean, one of it is, I always say to husbands, we've got to protect our wives.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to protect your wife from your own people.
Sure.
And I'm talking close family, where you say, guys, you may all have expectations, but I've discussed with my wife. There are things that she will do. The key thing there, you're not bossing people around.
Yes.
You do that with respect. You understand your rank, particularly just talk African family. There is a rank. It's how you come across, how you portray yourself.
Yes.
You don't come across as if you're a know-it-all. You
Yes.
say it with love, with respect. I have found that if you approach life like that, you respect all people.
Yes.
Particularly those of your own household, right?
Yes.
Respect, but you stand on the principles that you believe in.
Yeah.
People respect that. It's when we are fakes that people just look and say, "Oh my gosh, what are you trying to say?" Because you are telling us something that you can't even live.
Sure.
So the bar, God has made the bar very, very high for us, and we've got. We can't just decide that no, it's my way.
Yes.
Even when you approach your family, defending your wife and saying, my wife won't be able to do this, you do it with respect and you appeal to the higher authority that you yourself are subject. And that's serious. You're subjecting yourself to the will of God, and there's nothing that surpasses that.
Yeah.
That's the highest authority of my life.
Sure.
But there is a way in which He expects us to conduct ourselves.
Did you feel like a lady in those moments? when he protected you?
I did.
Yes.
I did. Let me tell you, our very first visit as a couple, and this is like, it's deep rural areas,
Sure.
very traditional family.
Sure.
There wasn't even a stove, not a wooden stove. So the cooking was done outside, and then the food.
Four-legged pot.
Four-legged pot,
that
three-legged
used to
pot,
be three-legged.
not
Three,
four-legged.
not four,
Three.
three.
3 foot.
Three.
And then the cooking down outside, bring the food inside. But then in the rural areas, we used to eat like soft porridge, in the morning.
Umdo.
Yeah, umdogo. Yes. So then the umdogo is there, and then Gogo, his mom, starts eating, and she's using her hand. And ladies at the time, way back 1980 something,
Sure.
then you're expected not to sit on a chair as a woman.
Sure.
You're expected not to use a spoon or fork. You have to use your hand and many other things. So we went back, and I did eat with that hand. And
Not you. You're a farm girl, right?
yes.
Don't be a slungy.
And we ever
I said no.
We ever see it.
I can't. So we went back, because the other thing is you don't want to embarrass your partner. You have to be thoughtful. We go back to our space, we talk about it and say, this and happened, and I don't like it. I've never eaten using my hand. My mom would blow your face off. You can't.
But this is the same woman who bought you romantic novels.
Yes.
You can't eat with your hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we listened to Handel's Messiah because of that woman. So I said, sorry, sweetie, I cannot eat using my hand, and I am not going to sit on the floor when there is a chair. And so I left it to him to speak to to speak to his people. And then he told me, okay, I've spoken to the people.
Yes.
I went back home, started using the spoon, sat on
No
the chair.
issue.
No issue.
Yeah.
No. Spoken.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to know
What
who he
said.
spoke to.
Yeah.
No. All I wanted was just protection.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Hope you gents are learning.
Yeah.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah. No, I wanted to say, for me, I think it's more, as I've said, and I want to underscore this point.
Sure.
It's how you present yourself. Because there is nothing that will turn your own close people off than coming with an attitude to in your, like, you're the smartest or we are this and that.
Yeah.
Respect beats everything.
Yeah.
And there would be people who try to push back and say they don't agree. It's normal. Reaction, any change, change is difficult
Yep.
for, but with time, people adjust. But most importantly is how they feel, how you make people feel.
Yeah.
So how my wife, as a new Makoti in this environment, how she made people feel. I think that was the key, because she also presented an absolutely a good attitude in terms of just doing things that she talking to my mom, talking to my brothers, my sisters, and things that she was doing around the place. And that endears you to people. Let's not forget. People, if you do that, you win people's hearts. So I mean, I can't say you have. It's not like there's a rule book.
Yes.
It's really how you live your life.
Sure.
Are you genuine? Are you fake? How do people connect with you? And it's connection that's important. This one, when my mom passed, I mean, they've been from that time.
Sure.
Gugu tell you that she had a good time with my mom.
Wow.
As a Makoti.
Wow.
Because, and it's a lot of things that she would have done to make that relationship work. Because we have to make it work.
Yeah, that's good.
And for me, it wasn't trying to, what's the English thing?
Subtitles.
Falling in line with what other people are doing.
Yes.
It's doing what I think is loving and what I think I'm comfortable with. So, in Swaziland, as a Makoti, and I married at 23. I was still a very young lady, Then I have to put on a duke on my head. I'd never put a duke on my head.
Sure.
Neither did I even ever have a hat or anything. Now I have to put on the duke. Back those days, there was this new style of
hairstyle.
Jerry curl. The perm.
Yes.
The perm. So perm was high maintenance because
my 2000 years.
I don't know perm. Because when you wake up in the morning, you have to put a whole lot of stuff to keep it curly and whatever. But once you put a duke on, it absorbs all that.
Yeah.
So the hair just gets flat. Yeah. So you do it, you go back, and then I'm a lecturer, Nohal, and then your hair is like this. So you have to make sure that. So I really resented that.
Sure.
I resented a duke. At church, they wanted you to wear a duke. At your in-laws, you have to wear a duke.
In your own house, you don't wear a duke.
In my own house, I don't wear a duke.
Fake, yeah.
But at my home, he doesn't have to wear anything anyway. So I need to then express myself because I do not want to have that resentment.
Yes.
Okay. So one time I had an opportunity coming from work, and then I had some time in Babane, which was the big city, and I thought, his home it's not too far from here. It's about 30 k's from where I was. I said, should I go greet his mom or not? I said, sure, but I don't have a duke. So I had to have a conversation with myself that I am not going into jet to buy a duke.
I don't need
because I don't need a duke. I have dukes at home.
Yeah.
Because what I would then do was usually when we get to that gate, then I'll put on my duke. And then it felt like, I'm being an imposter. I
Sure.
hate doing this thing.
Sure.
So that day I made a decision. What's more important, the Duke or love? Okay.
Sure.
I love this lady because she's my husband's mom. But I don't think a Duke expresses love. You can put it on and your heart is brewing, evil. So I decided, okay, I'll buy some bread, some goodies, small thing. Went home.
Yeah.
She looked at me. How? The fact that I was there
Yes.
alone,
Yes.
not with him
Yes.
during the week.
Sure.
She was like, she just felt so loved.
Loved, yeah.
She never asked me to wear a Duke.
Wow.
That
So
was the
which
end
two-
of the two.
That was the end of the Duke.
That was the end of the two.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, that's good. I've been speaking of mothers-in-law. A lot of wives complain about their mothers-in-law, and there's been it's an unspoken tradition in African culture that omakoti pay revenge when they become mothers-in-law themselves. So you were treated badly by your mother-in-law. You have sons, they get married, you treat their brides badly, and then the cycle just continues. But clearly that moment broke a tradition, and you guys started a new tradition with your mother-in-law. How did that relationship that you had with her influence the kind of wife you became and the mother-in-law that you've become now?
My mother-in-law was a lady that she didn't have too many words. And not once in my encounter with her did she ever say any mean words.
Sure.
I always said that I learned a lot from her because one of the things that I believe I learned was not imposing my beliefs on my makoti. She was a truly rural woman, but she understood that I went to school, I have a husband, the husband is educated, and the husband is by my side. So she wouldn't do anything that maybe on the side that would annoy me, and that's something that she would be embarrassed to do in front of him. So that's how it was. And for me, that was a very important lesson that I learned. That how I relate with my son's wife should resemble how I related to my mother-in-law.
Sure. That's good. That's good. Yeah. We need more of those examples and more of those stories. Because I think so people in my generation also fear getting married because of the stories with the mothers-in-law and just how damaging some of those stories have, and people don't want to succumb themselves to those kinds of relationships. My mother was very clear from get-go because she had a horrible story. My mother had a horrible story with her mother-in-law. And so when I got married, she just said to my wife, just if you want to wear it, I'm not even forcing you. You don't even have to come here also kotis and kotis. Just do your own thing, and we'll develop our relationship. And it's just been beautiful to see how their relationship has developed over the years. So we need more. More of these kind of stories. 43 years later.
And another thing is when he talks about how you relate to people. People saw how he treated me. And how we treated each other.
Sure.
So they respected that.
Yeah.
And
sure.
If my husband is not uncomfortable with what I'm doing, who am I to say, you have to do something that you don't want to do?
Sure.
So that protection, I had protection from him. Even, in the rural areas, around December, you have to go to the fields and weed and, nyahlakula and stuff.
Yeah.
I made a promise to myself because I grew up in a farm. So there was a lot of farming going on and a lot of stuff happening in the fields that we had to do. I said, the day I leave this home, that would be the last time you see me in the fields. And that is what I promised myself.
Sure.
Unfortunately, some things you do not think about them until until there's a situation. And as part of even marriage counseling, that stuff never came up. So we go and we do our master's degrees, we come back, and then when we get home, December, in the morning, Jerry wakes me up. Wake up. What's up? What's up? Says, no, it's funny, we have to go and weed. No, I'm not going. No, sorry, I can't go. No, sorry, I can't go there. I'll cook for you guys. I'll stay here. People need to eat, so I'll cook. And I cooked. So, but when we went back, then I saw, okay, so this was a situation that that took both of us unawares, and we had to talk about it. That, okay, so me, even now, when I, hush or something, my skin is very sensitive.
Sure.
So I will not go where there's, bushes and stuff. So he understood that.
Sure.
And he never forced me to go to the fields. And we decided, because they like doing the farming and whatever what we'll do is we are going to buy the labor to do what they expect me to do.
Sure.
And that is
substitute.
Yeah, substitute. Yes.
You need to work hard to afford labor. Okay. If she's not going to do it, work hard.
Yes. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Maybe in closing, just maybe one. I mean, it's probably hard to truncate this to one highlight. So one highlight of the past 43 years, and maybe start with the lowlights. What's the one thing you both are like, those were deep waters. And then what was your mountain peak that you like, man, we really enjoyed that, we celebrate that.
I think the low light would be, we talk about work-life balance. That's there's nothing like that, and it's very difficult to achieve. And sometimes that brings about can bring a lot of conflict because you, particularly in the early years when you are growing your career, you want to achieve this and that, and so some of the struggles that we had around that are not. I really that for us, I think, was a low light. Particularly when, for me, the lowest light, and Gugu sometimes reminds me, say, oh, that was a bad moment, is when she was carrying our last born.
Sure.
And I was so engaged in my work that, and it was a difficult pregnancy, and I was not available.
Sure.
Even on the day of the delivery. So that was a big low light, because it was a painful situation. Of course, our son came, and we were all, and in fact, she had done that second pregnancy as a favor, almost a favor to me, because I was looking for a girl, but a son came. So that we said, after that, we're done. We're not particularly because it was a difficult pregnancy. So that was a low light for me. But highlights, man, there've been many. One is just the unity around making decisions. This, for instance, when after we'd done our second degrees, and there was an opportunity to compete for a scholarship to go for PhDs, we made a rule that we can't do marriage by remote. So if one of us gets the scholarship to go overseas, no one is going.
Yeah.
The two of us, the
Have to
deal
be
is
at
that
the
the
thing.
two of us must go because we must be together.
Sure.
And that unity, and I think that has prevailed in our marriage, joint, enthusiastic agreement around just
Sure.
what we try to do.
Sure.
Of course, there have been moments when that agreement has been broken, and that's a low light
Yeah.
from my side. But generally, I would say in our lives, maybe the third one I can mention is that raising our kids also has been a huge highlight.
Yeah.
Yes, today we grieve because they may not be walking with the Lord the manner in which we have been praying for, but we're still praying that the Lord would reconnect with them in a manner that He only can do that.
Yeah.
But we are so grateful to the Lord that we're able to be always united in bringing our kids up until they reach maturity. Yeah.
That's good.
They tell us that way back then they used to say, he's the unit.
Yes.
They're coming for us.
So if you ask for something from him and he says no, don't even bother coming that other side.
Yes. That's how united you were. Sure. Nah, that's good. Anything from your end, Ma?
I think for me, one of the things that I cherish is having a husband that is loving, not just loving ngomlomo, but in terms of deeds.
Sure.
When we had our kids, he told you a story about the kids. I didn't have to be changing nappies alone.
Sure.
He changed nappies way back then.
It was not
His
fashionable.
his brother has never changed a nappy. His older brother.
We're not talking Pampers, by the way.
I know.
Yeah,
We're
the
talking
real ones.
the real McCoy, yeah?
The ones that you have to remove the stuff and you go and
Yes,
wash.
you wash them.
Yes.
Let me tell you a funny story. When my daughter was born, so changing nappies, I struggled. Not because I don't want to. I wanted to change nappies.
Yeah.
But smells, I think I struggle with. Smells are very particular. I used to wear a mask to change her nappy because I tried without a mask. I was like, I'm gonna vomit on this child. I need to wear a mask. And my wife used to be so angry saying that, why are you so dramatic? I'm like, I'm gonna vomit on this child. I want to change it, but yes, that smell was terrible.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago, when our son had his son,
Yes.
okay, he was there during the birthing and everything, and they stayed at the hospital. And his wife had a condition with his wrist, with her wrist.
Yeah.
And it appears to be in the family. When they are pregnant, they struggle with the right wrist.
Sure.
So he had to change the nipples from the word go. So the first week, the Makoti's mom was with them. The second week, I was with them at home. And, I was observing.
Yeah.
When I left, I then called him. I said, my son, I'm very proud of you.
Sure.
You taking this father thing seriously, he was like really hands-on.
Yeah.
He said, I learned it from my dad.
Wow.
That is a highlight.
Yeah.
That is a highlight.
Yeah. Sure. No, that's great. That's great. It's words that I think every parent wants to hear. We're gonna fail our kids in many ways, but we try by God's grace to raise them up in ways that we would be proud of ourselves. So no, that's encouraging. I know I said that would be the end, but we're here. So and I have the mic. So maybe individually, what would you say to wives watching this? So what would be an encouragement to wives, and then Baba for you to husbands?
For me, it's very important to be authentic. To not present a front, to be who you are, to try and live the way you are, and for the husband to understand, who you are. Because if you are who you are and you don't try and and be someone else, you're going to have, more happiness.
Sure.
And you're going to be happier. You're going to be, exuding that happiness to other people, and especially to your husband. So if there's something that you think you're unhappy about, because we are humans, talk about it. Talking is not easy. Let's talk. Sometimes you don't feel like. Sometimes I don't feel like talking. And I told him much later, when you see me, like maybe I'm looking a bit grumpy, and you see something's wrong, just
Yes.
prod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that I can come out of whatever situation or mood that I'm in. So I've encouraged him to to probe and to ask.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's good.
and I try to do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the husbands out there listening to us, we will not always get it right with our wives, but it's them that can help us to get it right.
Yeah.
Which means we must listen, we must give them the opportunity to express. That's vital.
Yeah.
And we must be in it for life. We can't be like I'm just in it for a couple of weeks. If you have that determination that I want to be with this woman for the rest of my life, then you have to work at it. A relationship is stuff that you have to work. You have to work on. It can't. And it is work. Let me end with this thing that Paul Tripp says. Paul Tripp says you are married to a sinner.
Yeah.
And the sin will be revealed in your marriage in small moments, not in big moments, in small as you live your lives. But that's an opportunity. When you see that, that's an opportunity to engage, not to walk away. It's to actually to come closer when there's that thing happening, and you are the instrument to change. Not to change the person. And how do you do it? Not by saying you've got to stop doing this and start doing that. Praying.
Sure.
Loving. Loving even when it is difficult to love, because that's the thing that changes our hearts. And hopefully understand that this institution called marriage is not man-made. It's God-made. And then so as husbands sitting out there listening to us, ask yourself, how are you relating to the Master, to God Himself? Because He is able to give us power beyond our ability to love in manners that surprises us. Is that me that has done that? And so I think that would really be my word. But any husband, whether you're Christian or not, it's not about you. So we've got to just step down and say, what does it mean to love a woman? Take the self out of it and put her at the center of the universe, your universe as a man, and then take care of her.
It's good.
My last tidbit is don't be afraid to seek help. Do not be afraid to seek help, because there are situations where you try to fix something and you fail to fix it because you're only human. Seek help from God, and God will direct you to the right people that can assist. And sitting here, you'd say 43 years. There are times when I've packed my bags in my brain and left.
Going where?
Going somewhere.
Did I tell you that somebody, we're not going to mention her by name, but she packed her bags the first week.
I know that person. Yeah.
And she left.
Yes.
And phela mina ngindoda yomzulu ngathi angeke ngimlandele. Uzazibona.
Yeah.
And she came back.
Yes. Yeah. No, we actually don't want to get to that situation because, as we said earlier, the home. If you are a couple married, this should be the safest place for both of you.
Yes.
And the safest place for your children.
Yeah, and the safest place for the children.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know.
Yeah. What are you guys getting each other for your anniversary? Or maybe I'm putting Ubaba on the spot here.
Well, I know that it's not going to be perfume because
You put too many
so I've got to be creative this time around. And what I find is that now you just go for stuff that can be used around the house, and you get the biggest kiss if you do that. So that's one of those things.
Finally, he knows my bra size.
Yeah. After 23 years. And there's hope, my friend.
There's hope.
There's hope. 23 years. Some husbands are like, I didn't know bras have a size.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us, sharing your life. It's been a true encouragement. I'm always blessed when I hear your guys' story, and just blessed again being a privileged observer of your marriage. You know? So I've known you guys for 11 years now. For as long as I've been married, and you've always been an encouragement
Thank you.
for me. And my wife as well, just seeing how you guys are, again, just this public display of your love, is encouraging to many of us, so when I speak to other younger couples, your name always comes up. And you guys are such a great inspiration, and I know you've inspired many others as well watching this, especially in the Black community, when we don't have elders who look as good as you guys, who sound as excited about marriage 43 years later. And it's not just a happiness that's put on, but it's tangible, and it seems to be very real. So
Thank you.
God bless you, and we pray for another 40. If you stay married for another 43,
yeah, we
how
can.
old will you guys be?
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I would be 100 and something.
Yeah, you'll be sick of each other, man. I'm tired of you being my wife. Can you just be my sister?
Yeah.
No, that's great. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, hope that you've been encouraged. We would love to hear your thoughts on what we were talking about. Please do leave your comments. If there's something that you want us to unpack, please just share your thoughts with us. Share this with other people. I know that they'd truly be encouraged again by the story. In a country that we live in, where we know that getting to 43 years of marriage is such an anomaly, it's such a rare thing. So let's share this with other people and encourage them. There is hope. Marriage can be done the right way, not the perfect way, but there is hope, and the story really demonstrates that for us. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Like this, share it with other people, and we'll see you next week, Wednesday. All right, for me and the team here. Peace.